is going to come through because they didn't pick that one up blind here on KT's side. And this does mean that there's going to be kind of an awkward void here for BDD. Could still flex the Karma into this mid lane, but I think with the Lux ban now, you feel a little bit less comfortable doing so unless you're trying to run Heimerdinger, but then this draft I think doesn't work, so yeah, Victor might just be the boring response that we get here, or Syndra, which I think is also a great answer.
Syndra could be okay, Ahri could be okay, at least then you can Spirit Rush out of range of Emperor's Divides and things like that. 9 seconds to go as BDD considers his options. You want a team fighter and you want to add some ranges. Never mind! All right, Lehens. We're just going all in. So this means the bottom lane is either, it's like a ride or die. You know, either we hit that hook and we kill someone or it's over.
Yeah, this turns the bottom lane, as you say, instead of a poke war and a war of attrition, a wave clear fight, into a all-in lane for Caitlyn. Wukong has to be hovering bottom side. I think this may come back to bite KT because you lose a ton of damage in your composition later on. You're reliant on Caitlyn. There is going to be a huge window where Live Sandbox hit their spikes. Varus has 2 items. Azir has 2 items. Caitlyn's in a bit of a power trough, doesn't have much protection, and she's not the type of AD carry who's going to get the same value out of that Karma shielding as something like Azeri, right? The hyper carry style game. So she's very vulnerable in this game, and if you lose out on the bottom side even one time, you fail that all-in or you don't actually win bottom side early, then you are going to be pushed by this Ashe Varus. You're going to have a terrible time, and things can get really off the rails very quickly. I'm not saying that is going to happen, but the risk of taking this Nautilus, I think, is so high here for KT Rolster, and you're not even playing against Azeri. It's just straight up a Nautilus.
No, absolutely. This is also like, KT have barely any damage, right? Like, something needs to go right in the early game, otherwise those spikes that you're talking about, where's the answer? It's like aiming at 50 minutes with 6 items sold boots, you know? Like, that's where you really get it, and it's going to be really difficult to make it there without just falling over. There's Ashe, Varus, Azir, even Gnar does a lot of damage, and that's not even mentioning the Elise. Oh my goodness.
There was so many other options for BDD here. The Syndra, I think, works so well, and I think the possibility of a Victor, you know, as boring as it may be for a lot of people, I think does very well in this draft because of a lot of setup to keep the Victor alive, but risky choice here could still work out for KT Rolster.
Yep, and we'll see how BDD is going to build as well. As let's just do it. Let's hop onto the Rift for game 1. All right. Well, already Lehens is flashing. What the heck is going on? Keen's diving into everyone, and they're all grouped up. Keen's almost dead, but he survives. Okay. All right. Well, that's an early game that could have happened.
Well, there's no heal on Varus anymore. They're going to delay the back.
Oh, God, the value.
That was a huge monster queue.
All right. Are they going to go for more? Yeah, I mean, BDD can just do it again.
Yeah, actually, regular Q, he didn't mantra that one. I don't believe that first one, but anyway.
No, he did.
He did. Okay.
You just got it back again.
Yeah. That threw me for a loop for a second there. Going back to your question earlier, or the thought that you had about what BDD is going to build, it really does become quite complex in this situation because it's not a Moonstone game, I don't think.
I really want Leandri's. I want him to just just go ham for the damage because they need it. They need to find it from somewhere.
I think that might be the way, and he might actually play it that way because it seems like the best item is, this is the all-in we're talking about with this Nautilus where you're just trying to hide in the brush, play forward. That's why they 5-manned bottom side there to look for the advantage. They have ward coverage down here too after that initial exchange, and Lehens is just hoping and praying. And also trying to hook.
And he's got the Chandelure skin as well, which I really like. Of course, Pokemon introduced, I believe, in like 8th gen or something like that. But this Nautilus skin looks exactly the same. Big fan.
I know the Pokemon you're talking about.
Yep, it just looks like Chandelure.
Well, I mean, we could say whatever we want about the new Pokemon games, and I know they're controversial and all, but sometimes they have really put some inanimate objects into the game as Pokemon.
I mean,
the keys that they added, the keys. Like,
yeah, they have a cup, like a chipped cup, you know, like straight out of, what is it, Beauty and the Beast.
Game Freak is just sitting around in their house being like, they just look at a piece of paper on the table next time, like, it could be a paper Pokemon now.
There we go. We haven't done that yet. Where's the stapler? All right, aiming in the hands, trying to pick up the minion wave here, as they haven't got the shove, which we expected. It's Ashe Varus.
Yeah, this is...
Caitlyn gets shove in most lanes, not this one.
This is where things normalize, you know, a little bit here. As KT, we're like, ooh, we didn't get the level 1 kill like we wanted to. That backfired a little bit. We have not been able to find a level 2 or anything like that. They sat in the brush at level 1, were pushed out very promptly. And now the lane looks like this. And it will probably continue to look like this. Cuz can come over, obviously, and put some pressure on if they're going to be pushing all the way up to turret. But beyond that, I mean, he doesn't have his ultimate yet, and if Envy has this ward up, it's really easy for them to just be respectful here and not get punished and continue this push. So bottom prio kind of permanent here for Live Sandbox.
Yeah, and they're also making sure that they get the wards down where they need them as well, just in case.
The deep ward is
going to come over.
Yeah, the deep ward, even without Scuttle here, is just like, I want to know with as much advance notice as possible so we have time to just walk it out. So this ward basically allows you to put real pressure on turret and then back away from such a safe distance where you could see the Wukong coming so far away that you have information. It also prevents Cuz from doing a lot. Okay, hold that thought.
Yep, Repel going to come on over as Willa does find the cocoon, but they didn't have a ward in the brush. BDD might have to flash, but instead he mantras the W. Now he's going to have to flash to get out. Willa just needs a Q, but an auto attack will do, and he manages to pick that up. But Cuz is now looking for Willa off to the side. Good cocoon is going to connect again. As Willa's getting chased down. No red buffs to worry about, though, as now Closer just offers a Sand Soldier, so no answer here, and KT find themselves 1,000 gold behind.
That is really massive here for the side of Live Sandbox. Closer gets out, of course, Flash is expended for both junglers here, or sorry, for both mid laners here, and both junglers, actually, as it turns out. But the more impactful one here being that the mid laners are flashless now and very gankable, especially once level 6 is up here for Cuz. And, I mean, this lane, they're just trying to zone him out of XP. You can pick Caitlyn, but part of why Caitlyn is so strong on this meta is because she's good specifically against Zeri lanes. She is not very strong into Varus and Ashe when there is no Enchanter support.
Well, Bertle is going to take a few auto attacks from the turret. Auto attacks? Just turret shots. That looked more exciting than it actually was. I got a bit baited there, but that's fine. I'll get better in future.
Health bars going down, we'll take it.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of the swords.
Well, Willer is now going to start up the Drake, and Kyle and Envy can come on over and help auto attack it down. It's feeling pretty elementary here in the early game, as Cuz, I believe, avoided that Hawk shot. Lehens is going to walk on down. Dredge line at the ready. We'll see whether they can actually win this fight. There it is, going to connect onto Kyle, but does have a cocoon available, and this is the point in the game where BDD is still very strong. Does a lot of damage. Level 5 has access to an R button. That feels good. Envy going to take a bit of damage there. As you can see, they're juggling the Drake as well, but still taking a fair bit of damage themselves. BDD going to lock down Closer. One more auto is going to do it. The Drake is going to be taken. And Willa's just going to look to get out of there. Cuz dashing on forward. Envy in the back of the pit wants to get the kill onto the monkey. As BDD was snared up, and Envy eventually has to flash to get over that wall.
Oh, look at the spiders to block.
Yeah,
oh, that was slick. Well, man, that was a very close call there for Live Sandbox. They do get out. Flash has to be expended here for Envy. We got a little bit greedy there in the end. This is, of course, the gank onto BDD. This is a very long exchange, so I don't know if we'll watch the whole replay. But Cuz is just a little bit too late here to respond. BDD really aggressive there. I think if he flashes earlier, he might just get out alive, but decides to go for the W anyways. Then over here on this side, Closer does so much damage that I actually like the way Live Sandbox have set this up, because they have both a lot of poke and range damage here, as well as good positioning, but you know that you're going to have to expend some summers to get out of here with this setup. And they do have to, as Envy wants so desperately to get that kill. Look at how low Lehens is, too.
It was actually really well played by Envy as well, making sure that he waits as long as possible before flashing, gets as much damage out as he possibly can. So, really well played. You mentioned his Varus being pretty strong, and it's continuing to be so this stage, and has close to a 10 CS advantage as well. And into a Caitlyn, you're feeling very good about that.
Does feel nice. Lehens had a nice start to the fight. You know, the attempt was good. Doesn't have level 6 yet, so that's, you know, he's very binary as Nautilus. He has a hook, and he's going to use it. He's got a root. It's going to impact people, but he couldn't make the impact he wanted at the beginning of the fight to actually lock it down and take the Drake away. So grabbing this early mountain is pretty amazing here for Live Sandbox already.
Oh, yeah. And also being able to drag out the game as well. I mean, there's no way that KT can stack any of these up or anything like that. And so getting towards these earlier spikes are going to feel real good, especially if they can get the Hextech Drake. Oh, man. That's real dangerous. High-value dragons on the Rift at this point in time is, all right, that's a hook that's going to connect, though, is Envy going to get locked down. Another turret shot would have done it, but it's not going to happen. One more auto from aiming. He doesn't get there. Now the autos from Kyle are coming in. Willa wants to try and find it. The Volatile's fighting and picks it up. Lehens tried to flash in front, but the AoE, it was big enough.
That was big enough. Lehens actually with a really heroic defense there. Attempt, of course, unsuccessful. But man, that was so well baited, I think, for Live Sandbox. You see the opportunity there. You have your, you know, faster rotating jungler coming down. You have control vision in the river, so you know, okay, this is not a 3v3. We can force this hard. And then as KT turn, the Spiderlings show up, and Elise comes over there and helps pick up the kill. 2 kills early here for Willer. And KT will grab this Herald. Very difficult to find a good lane to put this in, though, with the Karma mid. Into your Cassante lane topside, doesn't feel ideal to get money there. And Varus Ashe is making your life a living hell down here on the bottom side. Is just a really nice ult here from Envy. And he tanks a lot of turret shots here, and they kind of bait this one. And it's very risky, right? Because aiming flashes in, but that using his flash there and losing it is why he cannot survive.
Yeah, this Volatile Spiderling, the perfect, just beautiful. Lehens, if he wanted to flash, he needed to do it a little bit earlier.
Stuck in the root.
A little bit of a shame. As Bertle, the dash is pretty nice there from Keen, but honestly, this matchup, it feels like it matters so little in the early stages.
Yeah, we just don't look at it. We don't talk about it.
I did. I made the mistake. I'm sorry.
Told you guys on the draft, looks like it's going to be one of those games we're just not, you know, peeking at it too much. Let it occur naturally. And when they come to the team fight later, it'll be exciting. Oh yeah, those champions.
Well, that turret, is going to give some plate gold over to Cuz. BDD not going to pick it up. And Cuz getting more money is actually really useful because he does damage. The rest of the team struggles to do damage, especially in the mid game, aiming included in that one.
But you can see, you can see what I mean though about how the Herald doesn't feel super high value. You know, it is useful, yes, that Cuz picks up gold here, and it is very important for him to get as much as possible because he is going to be a large percentage of this damage. As Arrow.
Arrow is going to connect there onto Lehens. Chains of Corruption comes through as well, and Cuz is now fighting with Willa. There's the Cyclone. Envy gonna get knocked up, and they manage to get the kill. Now Cuz flashing away, wanting to get out of this one as the volley comes in. The flash forward, and Willa is gonna be able to pick that one up. Now BDD's making his way down. Closer, hot pursuit. And now aiming. Can he actually find it is the question. Closer has the ultimate available as Willa is going to die to the Karma, but the Caitlyn falls down immediately afterwards. Now it's a 2v2, but the Q misses from BDD. He has the blue buff as the Dredgeline gets Lehens to relative safety. Kyle trying to escape as well as BDD. He may have been baited. The Q doesn't land.
Both of those flashes for Envy and Kyle just now coming up. If they had those in the fight, I think it's a much cleaner one for Live Sandbox, but Closer comes down here, and it's essentially 2 supports against 2 supports, or rather two supports against a mid and a support, but it's support Ashe, who does a lot of damage, and Azir that they fight. Okay, another
arrow will connect, but the Titan's Wrath did come up. There's the flash forward from Envy, and he picks up the kill, and that's going to mean blue buff as well for the Varus. If you thought aiming's life was hard, well, it's much worse now.
Yeah, Lehens, by the way, is such a bro, man. He's trying so hard to protect his AD carry, but it is just not working out. This time trying to protect the mid-Karma who's stuck under turret here and does end up going down. Radiant Virtue will be the item of choice here for BDD this time around, so going for more supportive, doesn't actually go for the Leandry, so big damage problem here. And the extra stats in the actual active of the Radiant Virtue is going to be good, but not amazing for this team comp anyways, so...
Yeah, it will work if Keen gets involved in some of these fights, like the Wukong benefits quite a lot, but yeah, it doesn't really matter if you're just not doing enough damage. And that is going to be the big KT problem, as Lehens, Gonna move on over and look to clear out this ward. The Hex Flash was seen as this ward in the back of the pit, just barely out of range of that control ward.
Yeah, that's actually wild. That's super lucky for that ward. We'll live a little bit longer, get some extra information here, but I love how they're playing around this river while pushing the Varus, and aiming has to rotate over. He's being pulled by these minions down here, which means Liv Sandbox just naturally will get control of this choke point with an Elise that is pretty far ahead, let's just say. She's got Hextech Alternator, so the damage is coming through.
Yep, whole lot of Spiderling value there as BDD picks up all of the money from all three of them. Very nicely done. Now going to move back to this mid lane, and things are just going to chill. Not a whole lot that we need to worry about here. And honestly, for Closer, doesn't matter. He's very happy with how the game state is looking right now, as BDD will just clear out minions over and over again. But where is the win condition from KT?
I think it's going to have to be Lehens being a hero somehow in a comp where it's hard to be.
Well, Closer is now going to find the Emperor's Divide, and BDD is really going to struggle here. No flash available, no real hope. He's pretty tanky, as the arrow going to be narrowly avoided. He does, now have Bertle to deal with as well. So Closer picks up the kill, doesn't even break his crown.
That should be the Drake, and Varus can just sit bottom for free, push these minions in. It almost feels like, in a weird way, Atlas, like everybody knows you had that friend who just wants to do things the cool way, even though there's a proper way. And it feels like in this draft, KT was like, we can flex a Karma, and then the Lux ban came through, and they didn't have to flex a Karma, but they could have. But they didn't stop to wonder if they should have in this draft, and it's just really not working out.
Yeah, I don't think they should have. Personally, Cloud Soul, so that's great news. But let's have a look at this again.
Because doesn't actually get the chance to come over here and assist, right? Because I believe Ashe is set up to lock him down there, slow him, and so he's not going to be able to ult. The Ashe arrow is available too, so Cuz is just like, sorry man, you're dead. If I come over there and try to Cyclone to save you, then I'll get Ashe arrowed and also die. And you might survive, but I'm not willing to make that sacrifice right now. And we just left him out to dry because it was the right play. It's just really unfortunate for BDD there.
Yeah, and they weren't even able to capitalize by, collapsing on the less members that were then left in the river after everyone ran after BDD. You saw that it was aiming backing, trying to get some sort of damage put together for himself, as now KT once again hanging around this Rift Herald, aiming, going to see that the Blast Cone just exploded. Probably not going to walk in that area, and that is indeed what he's going to decide to do. Bertle with a great Nabah right now for a potential fight. They move forward.
Yeah, looks like KT just going to let this one leash, try to look for a Nautilus play here. Regular flash back up for Lehens here. So has a quick reaction or a quick engage he can pull off here over the wall, or of course just in the front lines. And Liv Sandbox going to respect it.
Another arrow at the ready here for Kyle. His aim has been pretty good. BDD having to sidestep the last one. It's all right. Yep, BDD walking at him over and over again. The Karma certainly capable of doing that. Fiendish Codex now at the ready. Fair bit of ability haste available.
Night Harvester here for the Elise is a pretty big moment right now with the Sork Shoes too. He does so much damage to anybody he encounters. So if you're aiming here, you have to manage these waves as best as you can, but you have to remember, if you don't know where the Elise is, you're not really safe. You may lose your flash. He's holding on to both summoners right now, so that's one thing he could be thankful for. As Liv Sandbox are just not going to let this one go. They're like, yep, well, you guys thought you were going to contest, but we're actually better set up for this one.
And now I'm just wondering, how do KT do anything for the rest of the game?
I don't know if there's an answer to that,
Yeah.
When we saw that Nautilus lock in, I think a lot of people were hyped. I was worried.
Well, arrow connects onto Lehens, but he walks away. I believe Merc Treads were available. Yes, they were. Not going to get stunned up for too long, especially when it's a bit point blank like that. As Keen having to dash about 1 trillion times to get out of the way of Bertle here, who's just chasing after him. All right, let's see whether this is going to work out as the all-in does come forward. Bertle's in trouble, one more, but it's not enough, and Bertle turns it around.
You know what's so interesting about this series in particular is it all goes back to... Okay, hold on. I don't want to get on...
Oh dear, he's dead. All right. And Bertle immediately hands off keyboard. I think he got a little bit frightened, and I think a lot of us would have as well if a monkey just came out of nowhere.
The Cyclone from nowhere. But with everything we had a big overreaction, I think, after Liv Sandbox got utterly destroyed by D+ Kia, right? Like, completely dismantled. Worst series that we can remember in recent memory. and then everyone instantly was already, everyone before that, by the way, was slightly low on Live Sandbox in this roster, but after that, everyone's like, oh, this could be, like, everyone was writing the obituaries, you know? And then they had that upset win over Hanwha Life, and nice dodge.
Very nice.
And I think in a weird way, this actually makes D plus Kia look like a stronger team, right? Because this team is clearly doing a lot better than what our expectations were, and to be dismantled by D plus Kia is more of a good thing by D plus Kia rather than a bad one for Live Sandbox. And in this game, the draft here for KT is just going to struggle. Yeah, this is just one extra auto. Very close there.
I think Keen thought he'd just kill him with that auto. Yeah. Because that click wasn't to try and kill him again. As, at least Cuz is able to tidy it up.
Very bizarre there, but Cuz does clean it. Nice. And then? Oh, I thought we were going to get the...
Yeah, I thought we'd get the reaction to the death, but I guess it's fine. 3,000 gold is the lead here for Live Sandbox. That is only going to extend as Bertel just has some free time with this turret. He's going to get rid of it now.
This is a draft that for KT, if you take away the enemy team comp, you're like, okay, this could be good. You know, it's got some. It's not perfect. It's missing some damage. But when you look at Live Sandbox's team comp, you're like, ooh, this could have a lot of problems if it doesn't win the all-in and the 2v2 bottom side. If they don't get a really nice pick. Now that we know that they haven't, and you look at the game state from behind for this comp, you look at KT's comp and you're like, this is abysmal. This is worst case scenario. There is very little you could do. You have no agency. You have no damage on your mid laner. And it's time to start panicking. You know, we were worried about the series, but it's time to start panicking if you're a KT fan.
Well, the cool kids, they're definitely not panicking. That is not happening whatsoever. KT now setting up around the first Cloud Drake of the game. So far, they've been rather unsuccessful when it comes to collecting dragons.
Yeah, remember last time you mentioned it, the Karma was really strong at that point in the game. Not so much here.
Arrow will connect immediately. Cleanse comes through. Aiming won't have that for the potential team fight. Cuz gets over the wall, but that is away from anything that he wants to be doing right now, which is heading towards this Drake and trying to lock that one down.
There's just so many threats for this Caitlyn. Doesn't matter how long her range is if she just can't get into range, because if she does, she's going to die from so many sources.
Now you've got Bertel getting slowed down by the Q from Keen, but the rest of Live Sandbox are now making their way down. It's a split team on the side of KT. As Closer, he'll have his crown broken, but that's all the ace in the hole is going to do. As once again, you know, there's a flank angle for Cuz, but what's he flanking?
Yeah, what's he flanking? Where's he going to go? He's actually maybe even going to make himself a liability here. At least he has the Warriors Trickster to get over here.
Yeah. Well, Keen grouped up with his team for the first time. Arrow is going to sail and connect to the Caitlyn, but Bertel doesn't have an R-bar anymore. No real option right now as the Chains of Corruption come through.
The Azir damage is real. You can really feel it. There's not a lot of trade back here for BDD, but they have to stick to the Drake now. They have to go for the smite.
It's going to be a 50-50, and it's the Elise that takes it. Cyclone now going to come through. A couple of knockups for Cuz, but can't really find too much more. A golden spider looms over the battlefield as KT. They'll find at least the Varus, and now the Caitlyn's getting some work done. BDD locks down the Azir as Bertel is running for the hills. KT somehow find a team fight.
Yep, Keen.
Okay, Kyle, I think you might be dead, sir. And there it is. Cuz gonna lock that one down. An even bigger win here for KT.
Yeah, greedy back there. But I mean, I think he's desperately just hoping he's gonna get it off. His TP will commit, and he doesn't land on that Caitlyn trap somehow.
Yeah, that was an optimistic teleport, but Bertel not going to be punished for it just yet. Just wanted to take the turret and move out, and KT now keep it under 2,000 gold. The advantage here for Live Sandbox.
The spaghetti trap there, maybe.
So I'm in two minds right now, Wolf.
Yeah.
As we check out the replay. I'll come back to the short. You take us through.
Well, yeah, this replay is really just KT pulling the Drake. The Caitlyn traps here are actually really problematic for Live Sandbox's comp. They can't really close the gap here, so most of the damage, once the Azir is kind of pushed away, is really not there. And Bertel, once they go past the trap, Bertel's like, well, I also have this trap problem I have to deal with. I don't have an R-bar. And the rest of KT just is all as one, whereas Live Sandbox are very split. Kyle just goes straight up your top to try to back as fast as possible, which I think is probably the best option for him in this case, but he still dies. And that's the end of that fight. But what were you going to say?
So I was thinking that if KT do manage to find the comeback and it's like a really cool story and, you know, they get their 3 items on the Caitlyn, aiming does all this damage and it's a victory. If you're a KT fan, are you happy about that? Because then it kind of tells KT, that this type of composition isn't terrible.
Yeah.
And I still think, regardless of outcome, this is not the greatest of drafts that we've seen. As now Cuz going to make his way in, but Envy does at least have his Ghost Blade, so uses that in order to get the movement speed.
No flash, so it would have been very scary if he did not have the Ghost Blade there. Yeah, I agree. I'm on the same kind of mindset as you. As yeah, it's hype. It's a comeback, but like it doesn't solve the problems, and it just makes it in some ways a very impressive story. That considering how the early game went, the KT still win this. Now, going back to that last fight, you know, not talking about the micro aspects of it, but the result is a bunch of gold split over KT's comp. Still no kills for the Caitlyn, even though she did a lot of work in that fight, so we're not going to be really speeding her up that much. Karma and Wukong really getting the most value out of this. Again, two champions that get value out of their money, but not as much as a Caitlyn would. And the Drake goes to Live Sandbox with that second smite. So, you know, a lot of ways KT win, but how much did they really win? How much did they actually gain?
Kane gonna have to all out as Bertle's gonna get pushed back onto the turret. Now Kane is looking for the second one. Will is like, what the heck? What am I supposed to do? The arrow sails by magnificently, and now Kyle is gonna find Kane. I thought maybe it'd be the moment, but with the ghost, he gets out. Oh ho ho! That was that 2018 Kane we were talking
there
about.
you go. You gotta be so careful about pushing around the edge of turrets like this, and when Keen has his ultimate and two items, you're gonna, I believe he had that Sunfire in that last fight, but you have two items, and he will actually go all out on you and kill you. So,
I like that.
Very
good name.
Yeah, very big overextension, let's say, there from Bertle, and he has the Ashe arrow to back him up in the side lane. So I guess in that case, he felt like, okay, I should be okay here, kind of no matter what. He's Meganar, but you end up getting this close, and he misses Q3. And Keen is looking for follow-up because he knows Willer's coming down. If the Ashe arrow connects and he has a better setup here, it's an amazing time. And like Bertle's decision kind of makes sense, but he gets pulled into the turret, the all-out comes through, the Q3 knocks him back. Arrow misses here, but he's still able to escape with the Ashe slows.
Yeah, it was really nicely done from Keen. And if Kyle wasn't there, then Willow was definitely dead. I think that was almost guaranteed. But this also means that Keen's going to have a little bit more of the, the feeling of happiness in this side lane. Might be able to go more aggressive onto Bertle in the future as well. So the Cassante could become a problem. Although he's not going to kill anyone very quickly, he may still be able to win out in that 1v1. As that's a nice little Captain Jack there from aiming to absorb the arrow.
Really nicely played. I like your pessimistic optimism about the scenario. You're like, yeah, maybe he will do damage slowly eventually. It still seems pretty doomed, but like that was a kill that happened and they picked up money. But maybe it is
you saw through me, Wolf! Oh no!
Yeah. Cosmic Drive for the Karma.
That's an item.
That's damage, and he's going for a more AP here with a needlessly large rod.
I assume that's a Rabidance, because I'm not going to be building a tier this late in the game.
I don't think he's building Shadow Flame.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Crazier things have happened.
All right, this is Soul, by the way, for Live Sandbox, so this fight is so important for KT, but they have a better setup here, and the traps are set once again for aiming. Very difficult to close the gap here, and they're going to make it into a Baron trade. This is a fantastic call for Live Sandbox. The rotational power here for KT, just not there. No TP angle for Keen. He's going to have to walk it out, and Gnar building bar the whole way back.
Yeah. Live Sandbox, though, aren't going to start this one up, and that ward sitting there in that brush, actually giving a lot of information to KT. Nope, not going to be any response. But, I mean, Live Sandbox can do this. Like, who cares? They've got Soul Point. KT can have some, like, throwaway Cloud Drakes. They don't mind about that. And the gold lead is, like, basically nothing. But Live Sandbox have so many more tools that they can use. Like, the pick potential with this composition, the damage potential. They can sneak Barons in an instant with this Azir. He doesn't have the Leandry, so it's not as fast as other Azirs would. Take it, but he's still Azir, right? So him alongside Envy would be able to get that one done relatively fast, not to mention Willa offering a fair bit of damage there. So I still feel like KT are somewhat on the ropes.
I mean, I definitely agree. I think that it's KT's handled what has been a disaster of a draft, outside of the early game there, because it could have worked, right? If the 5-man actually works and aiming gets ahead and Caitlyn actually wins the lane, this game looks completely different, right? But and we're not talking about Soul Point the same way. But this game has been pretty good for KT, all things considered. I think a lot of this has been because and Keen handling some of these skirmishes very well. The Wukong has been very valuable for KT. But I think when we go to a 5v5 fight where everyone is set up on Live Sandbox, or if they have objective setup, like the lead, it's very difficult for this fight, or the team fighting comp of KT to win 5v5 ever. And we're getting to the point where, yeah, Solo's online, Baron's online. These objectives will have to be contested. KT gave up the first 3 Drakes of the game and got that 4th one, but they can't walk away.
Oh, Lands is going to find closer. Emperor's Divide comes in as all of the Cuzzes and the Lehens do get pushed away. That is going to mean that's now on cooldown. So a possible Baron angle maybe, but probably not. Because it takes them about 45 years to lock that one down. They're going to need to kill closer. And this might be their opportunity. He's in the sky for about 3 years. And Cuz is eventually going to press Q and take down the Pigeon.
This is the Baron opportunity. You know, you take away the ult, maybe it's risky. Take away the Azir completely, and now it's a strong option. Even with the time it's going to take here, they can lock the door here with this Nautilus. Bertle has no Narbar. It's going to be an awkward fight here. Envy needs to hit that damage.
Well, Arrow is going to connect. Fair bit of splash lands onto KT, but they're otherwise absolutely fine. And Willa, he'll need to get in there. Cocoon is going to connect as Cassante happy to tank things up here. Hail of Arrows doing a fair bit of work. But Willa's nowhere near this pit. They're not going to be able to stop this as Keen playing frontline. Willa now over the wall. BDD trying to stop him. He steals it away! And it's a massive gnaw from Bertle into the wall as well, as Willa's going to be taken down, and now KT are looking for the team fight. Bertle finds a huge wallop, but he's still going to be able to walk it out. All right, a couple of kills do come through. Ace in the hole secures the double for aiming, but they lost the Baron.
They lost the Baron, and it's just straight up Willa wrapping around, casually jumping into the pit at the right timing there, and the smite is very early. Unfortunately here for Cuz, perhaps a panicked reaction there as the walls are closing in around them. Gonna go back to closer here after losing his ultimate. Just has no vision here whatsoever. These types of set plays are why KT are still in this game. Now you get the opportunity to start up Baron. And you win the team fight here because there's no Azir, but you lose the Baron. As Willa just waits around the edge here. They have a control ward. And just waits for the first smite, smites it away. Like, the timing is so easy for him because the smite is so missed that he just goes, okay, and steals it. Now the fight is lost. And KT win this one off of that Azir pick because they're finding these angles, set play, watching where the vision is. Take that Azir's ult away, take the Azir off the map, start a Baron. It almost feels like KT are cheating away. Like, you should not be winning this game, and they're still not ahead by any means. They're down on gold. This comp has big damage problems. But if they keep finding the right picks, if Keen keeps killing people, if his all-outs keep being big, he's got 3 items now. His Gargoyle Stone Plate makes him very hard to deal with. Maybe KT do win against all odds here.
The thing that's crazy is that they've lost the Baron, but I feel like KT look like they're playing with more confidence now.
Yeah.
After being able to actually win out in that team fight, as aiming by himself is now looking to close in. Keen's going to join him. Closer off to the side now. Arrow going to sail through, splits the posts quite nicely. 6 points in Australia, if you don't mind.
It's only 3.
Oh, really?
In America. Only get 3 for that.
Yeah, well.
Or 1 if it's an extra point. But.
Yeah, it's 1 if you miss in Australia. We like
you still get a point if you miss?
Yeah, you still get a point if you miss. It's great.
Man.
If you miss by a lot, though, you don't get it.
Oh, okay.
And the enemy gets a enemy. The other team gets a free kick. As aiming takes so much damage from that volatile Spiderling.
Bertle wants to use this Narbar before it times out, but he doesn't have, his team isn't close enough. They're just going to push mid instead and try to slow us down. It's only a solo Cloud Drake, so I like this call from Live Sandbox actually to just say, not push mid, but you need to actually get value mid. They're collapsing late.
Oh, Willa, he just walks in and steals it. That's the soul, but he's going to have to give up his life for it. We'll see whether that's going to be worthwhile, as Depth Charge did stop Bertle from offering any sort of support. Because, man, he's got to find that smite button.
Yeah.
It's been a rough one so far here today, especially after what we saw from Cuz in the Deft versus Faker.
What's so weird about this, too, and what's so tragic about it is Live Sandbox pushed mid and got that inner turret, and then they were like, should we go back? Should we... All careful.
Well, Dredgeline going to come through here. Concussive Blows is actually a Braum ability. Not, in fact, Nautilus, but he's going to stun him up with his passive.
I mean, they were concussive blows. The ability is not called that, but I mean, that's what they
somewhat concussive.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, aiming. Gonna have to get out of the way. This one does so. Had a nice buffered net there. Doesn't have the cleanse back available just yet. Does have some items. So 3 items for the Caitlyn is certainly good news. He needs more. Like we mentioned, 6 soul boots is what he needs to do enough damage to fully carry this team. But
part of the reason why this might still happens, notice where Wheeler is standing here. They don't have vision of him. Okay, this one is much more forgivable. That was 60 damage off. But they don't know where the rest of the sandbox are rotating back into, so he can kind of casually walk up to this because they're so scared that if they turn on him, the rest of the team is going to actually blow them up. But
do you know what the 5-head thing is, though? It was KT wanting to start the Drake so that Liv Sandbox stole it so that they can then win the flip on the Elder and win the game. That's what it was.
Wise.
All right, Arrow's going to get towards that back line as the Mantra does come through. So Radiant Virtue doing a lot of work here for BDD. Closer got into the back line. He landed a huge Emperor's Divide onto a Karma with 1 billion health. And he just didn't care.
He just didn't care? It's what's so rough about this is Closer had a tough series in the last one.
Oh,
okay, hold on.
Who's he going to find here? Okay, no one just yet. Cocoon does come in. Teleport. And BDD's going to turn up. Like, hey man, how you doing?
Almost looks like BDD teleported to the Raptor.
Whoa.
They are just going to siege this as 5, and Liv Sandbox don't have great side laning, and they're just going to have to K-ram it for a second.
Well, Aiming cares a lot about that arrow, as you can see. Nar is going to do basically nothing, and yes, KT don't have a lot of damage, but they take infinite damage.
Wave clear too. Like they have wave clear also. Like they could just wave clear and let the minions kill the turret while they're unkillable. They just kind of win by having more health and shields. Should have built Serpent's Fang in V, but
yeah, where's that?
Yeah, where's that at? Remember when we used to have to talk about that a lot back in the other Karma mid days? Really? Yeah. Serpent Fang coming in.
Where's that Serpent Fang?
Closer had a really tough series, right? In the last time they played around, and he said in his post-game interview after that Hanwha game 1 that he said, Envy said to me, Closer, I would never blame you, even if you were 0 and 10 in this game. And Closer said that comment from him kind of kept him motivated. Then he popped off and picked up solo POG in the next 2 games. He's had a bit of a rough one here. You know, he's been caught several times. I think part of the reason why KT are still in this game is because Closer has tried to have some ambitious setups or is going through the jungle without vision several times and getting caught here. And he's 2 and 4 on this Azir. Does have 3 items and a death cap to boot, but he needs to be the reason why KT are losing a war of attritional damage. He needs to survive long-term in these fights with the Varus to win. And if he's getting picked constantly trying to set up for these, then it doesn't matter if KT has less damage, they can just shield through the rest.
Yeah. And Aiming's very close to 4 items as well. In fact, he did manage to get it. Just as we were putting that cool little graphic up, you saw that he was sitting on 2.2k. So finishes the Bloodthirster now. And so Aiming's, he does real damages.
Yeah, he's big now.
He will need a Lord Doms. That will come through.
We've crossed the trough, though, you know?
Oh, we definitely have.
It's...
And I did sort of jokingly say, like, 6 items is what you need, but I think 4 is probably still going to be pretty relevant, especially with no real tank as the arrow going to sail by. Mantra Q connects there, and BDD actually doing a fair bit of damage here. With that Rabadon's now completed, and I feel weird saying it.
Looks like Turtle tried to wallop the the Caitlyn ult there.
Stop it!
Like Nar saw the laser pointer like a cat, and he was trying to grab it.
I tell you what, though, this is pretty exceptionally KT. Even if they win, as a KT fan, you're more nervous.
Yeah, it's you know that it's wrong, and you want to feel happy.
Yeah.
And it's like if KT cheated on a test, and like the guy, like KT's a kid that like actually usually doesn't do well on tests. Like he's getting like D's.
Yeah, but he's actually very good at the subject.
And the KT,
but he cheated on the test.
Yeah, and KT's mom is like, she's aware that that he cheated, but she's kind of like, well, you know, you do need that that score for your grade, and I'm just gonna let this one go, but don't do it again.
As Arrow connects onto Aiming, he is once again going to use the cleanse, this time to avoid us. Okay, that is a very cute little cocoon. BDD goes golden though. And now Liv Sandbox gonna have to back away. Keen teleports in, so Liv Sandbox do get something out of this. As BDD also teleport at the ready. And he can immediately come back with a full health bar to fight for this Elder. 12 seconds on that one.
Us having GA for this fight is massive.
Oh yeah.
Needs to keep an eye on that health bar. a close eye.
No, they need to kill Willa. I'm done. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to say that we're going for a 50-50.
He's flashless, so, I mean, there are ways in which they could pull this off. Look at the Lehen's flank angle.
Yeah, Lehen's looking for that. Does have real flash as well, so at a moment's notice, he could be right behind them. Kyle spots him out. They have that information. BDD just walked over. Didn't even need to use the teleport as Emperor's Divide pushes Lehen's right on in there, cuz Cyclone now on cooldown. Dredgeline goes wide. It's a bit of a disaster as the arrow connects onto Lehen's, but he stays alive. Closer now, Golden, and once again punished. Oh my goodness, Keen's going to find Willa, and he's having a field day. This K'Sante is having the best time ever. As KT, they'll move back to the Elder, and there is no Azir to help in these team fights.
This Elder is, recent.
Oh, don't do it again, KT.
I think they're going to try to, and this could come back. Now, Bernal is losing his Narbar. This is very difficult for Live Sandbox to win.
All right, KT, please turn. Please turn, please.
They're going to turn.
All right, well, they're back on. Willa's not dead. Willa, he's still in that brush. As you can see, so much damage for this K'Sante, and I didn't know that I was going to say that. As Willa does show himself, they know that he's right over. Another arrow comes in. Chains of Corruption are going to connect as Lehen's getting taken down very, very low. Willa gets on in there, and they need to say stolen again! Are you kidding me, KT? Why? Why?
How did this happen again? Repel, he does it out of Repel, you can just hold the damage! He can't do anything while he's in Repel, how did that happen? Triple!
I'm baffled, I'm completely baffled, Wolf, as Emperor's Divide. Aiming does have a stopwatch, but guys, he's dead.
How did KT win a game that they couldn't win and then lose it? How did they do that? How did it happen? Oh man, I mean, that should never have occurred. Willer out of Repel gets the steal, and it's a wipe, and I'm speechless.
Yeah, I don't know. What do we say?
3-4 and 2 Elise is getting the POG vote. That's all I can say, Atlas.
Yeah.
This game is not a happy one for either side.
Well, Lehen's is going to get some knockups. There you go. This was... Oh dear.
Nobody walks out of game one happy.
Nope.
Nobody walks out of game one happy, Atlas. Not a single player. Maybe Willer. Only Willer gets to walk out happy.
Yeah, he does. He has a bit of a grin on his face, as you can see right there. Oh my goodness. That was the most KT game I think we have ever commentated.
I think so. I think so. How do you force the Karma Flex to mid. You pick the Nullis.
I don't even think the draft matters anymore.
After
all of those, the wacky, like, these smite decisions.
We gotta go this like super slow-mo, okay? Like, Willer's going to repel. And at that moment, they should be able to hold the damage because they win this fight no matter what. But they still focus this down. Like, during the repel.
Yeah, he gets in.
He gets in.
1,500. Not, oh wow, that was a beautiful smite from Willa. Just beautiful. The Nah also absolutely gorgeous.
And on second look, like, they did kind of hold the damage during his repel, and was just really out. It was an outplay in terms of the 50-50. Good reaction time,
but they should also have never been in that position, Wolf.
You could just turn.
It was 4 versus 5. Just turn and kill the Elise. They saw him there.
I know.
I'm feeling very traumatized
because of, like, look at the, like, cover the damage with like a piece of paper at home, and look at all of the objectives that Willer stole, and the Baron.
Oh yeah.
By the way, the first Drake fight that Live Sandbox won, they lost the fight, and he still got the Drake.
How many of these objectives did he actually start?
I think like
1 or 2.
Yeah, two. I think in total they started.
Yeah, a Herald and one of the Drakes. Otherwise, it was
God.
Willa just stealing everything.